Sometimes I really feel like this world is overly saturated and a lot of times really overwhelming. And I know I'm not the only one feeling this way, but I also see that not everybody is even thinking this way. A lot of people don't worry about things like AI taking over their jobs and things like not being able to tell a real video from AI generated video, and some people are just existing in the world as is. And I realized that I, for a long time, was one of those people who just kind of let life happen to me rather than letting it happen through me. And it wasn't on purpose. I kind of felt like I was just constantly stumbling through life. And now I kind of see it as just like a lack of guidance. And I don't blame my parents for that at all. I have a closer relationship with my mom than I do my dad, but I understand that they were kids having kids, and sometimes I feel like even adults are just kids in adult bodies just trying to heal themselves as kids. And I see that completely now and clearly. And I try to forgive myself a lot for just not knowing a lot of things growing up and having to figure things out myself. And part of that makes me feel really delayed, if that makes sense. Not so much cognitively delayed, but just where I could be in life. I don't want to say where I'm supposed to be in life, because I feel like feeling like saying you should have a house and a career that you love and kids and a wife by 30 or 35, I don't agree with those kind of forced standards. But you have the ability to look back on your life and could either admit to yourself that I could have done things differently and have been a lot further along, or you could say, I just didn't know any better. And for me, it was both. I didn't know any better, and there were a lot of things that I could have done differently to push myself further along. And that's something you have to come to terms with. And like I said, a lot of people feel like it's okay to just exist in life, and it's okay until you wake up and you're 40 or 50 and can't do the things that you wanted to do in your 30s, and life begins to look bleak because you didn't do the things that not only you wanted to do, but would have been good for your spirit and good for your well-being. And I think that's a big part of really living and saying you've experienced life rather than letting it happen to you. I try to live by the belief that a rose on the table is different from a rose in the ground. And what I mean by that is a rose on the table is only going to exist in two states: the state that it's in, and then when it wilts and fades, and that's it. But a rose in the ground has the ability to grow thorns, has the ability to lose petals and bring them back, has the ability to grow, and that's what makes it alive, as opposed to the rose that's cut and on the table. And I think about that a lot now, knowing what I know and dealing with AVPD. You can't just exist. You can't just exist. And saying your circumstances is your reason for just existing is a lack of accountability on your own part. And I've realized that with myself. And I know now that I don't want to be someone that life just steamrolls over, you know? It's not okay thinking like that, and you can't control everything, but I'm not sure if I said it in this video or a previous video, but there's always options. And sometimes our circumstances feel like this is the route that we have to go, and this is the route we can't stray from. This is what's gonna be the end all be all to getting us to where we want to be. But sometimes stumbling is a part of the process, and it's okay to stumble. But once you know better, it's not enough just knowing better. You have to actually do better. And I could admit to myself there were times where I knew better and just didn't do better. And that's a part of being human, and also a part of being alive, coming to that realization and just knowing for next time, or just future instances of just kind of completing the task and getting things done. But I say all that to say, it's not enough to just be here and kind of feel like life has control. You have control of a lot more things than you think of, and sometimes you just have to kind of sit back and remove yourself, not permanently and not entirely, but just kind of stand back and get a better view of the forest from just the tree. No matter how beautiful the tree is, it's just a part of the whole picture. And I think that's what I'm learning now, that you could be awestruck by life, and I don't know where I was going with that thought, but I don't want this video to go on for too long. I feel like I made my point, if there was a point. But again, I appreciate you guys for listening, and hope this video finds you well, wherever you are, what time it is. And I'll be back with another rant or vent session. And I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.